Hello, all, and welcome to my very makeshift YouTube channel, um, the Dichotic Dilemma YouTube channel. And ultimately, hey, listen, what's been said has been said. The universe, something has heard it. Maybe it's just me who needs to hear it, which usually is the person who really should be hearing what you have to say, you know? Such is the nature of human existence, whilst we're too busy pointing at other people, when perhaps we could be reflecting at our own actions. How about that? As a way to start the my my presentation today. So I'm on this amazing program with this amazing personal development company, which is the most interesting synthesis of so many things. It's called Landmark, and it's a mix between highly advanced theoretical practice for effectiveness and efficiency in your life and leadership and career and everything, whilst at the same time being, in many ways, transcendental practice, but packaged in a way such that it is not clad in the usual dressings up and of spirituality and things like that, meditation, etc. But yet, the epiphanies and results, in many ways, are quite comparable, if not stable. Because being someone who has had a transcendental experience and done a meditation meditation retreat, it's a completely different setting, but the illumination of reality and the evolution of your spirit and your feelings is comparable, which is very impressive. So obviously, it's very well researched and fantastic. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. What I wanted to talk about was Martin Luther King Jr. Just the other day, I listened to his speech on the mountaintop. I'd always known that he had written such a speech and known the famous phrase, "I've been to the mountaintop and seen the promised land." But I don't think I had listened to it. And if I had listened to it, it was very much gone from my memory banks. Or at the very least, the profound nature of it was beyond what I could appreciate when I listened to it at the time. But even more so, I was shocked to know that he had suffered an assassination attempt a few years before he actually embarked on what became a series of actions by him in many ways that changed the whole landscape of America as we know it today, certainly to do with race relations, but really just changed America, transformed it. And even more so, as we know, what happens in America generally reverberates with the rest of the world. So his movement left an indelible mark on the world. And having listened to him speak in these last couple of days, he's no longer a Dr. Martin Luther King for me, certainly not. He's a saint. He's a saint in our time. We obviously, as human beings, laud more and more prestige on people and achievements as time goes by. But this man needs his, yes, he's very much acknowledged as a great historical figure. He's not just great, he's profound. He's a profound historical leader with a, well, of course, with his support and coterie of able people who helped him. But he was a man of great wisdom, incredible oratory ability, and the ability again to explain reality and project a new reality in a way that is mesmerizing. And what he achieved in a span of about 6 or 7 years after his attempted suicide in a country like America as it was at the time is Herculean. That is an ascended master. We were in the presence of greatness, a higher level of awareness. And it's interesting because when I was younger and I was angry, of course, I gravitated more to Malcolm X. And I'll never ever disrespect the man, because you are what creates you, and his story was horrendous. And to even become the man he was a miracle. Yet that pugnacious, angry side was appealing, because that's how I felt. But I always respected Martin Luther King. And yet at 39 years old, with a higher level of sophistication, ironically, the age that Martin Luther King was assassinated. I hope no one's having any ideas. I realize just how different the two conversations are. The only meaningful conversation for humanity is a conversation for solidarity and togetherness under any circumstances. And that's not a conversation to be passive. That's a conversation to be active as possible, channeling the truth of reality, of the universe, of love, into the darkness and wickedness of hatred and violence and killing. That is high level sophistication. That's high level human beings. That is what it is to be the full being on the planet, right? In my perception. So, and then that, I was flabbergasted listening to that speech. And it brought tears to my eyes. And I was aghast with my mouth wide open for quite a long time, suffice it to say. And then today, just now actually, I was thinking perhaps I'll do this video before I'll do tomorrow, as it's about after 11 p.m. in the United Kingdom, and I wanted to go to sleep, but then I watched his I Have a Dream speech by the Lincoln Memorial. And that even more so was phenomenal. Phenomenal. But now, that brings me to the question. After hearing that, after hearing a man say such words, I have a dream, um, essentially for peace and love for all of human beings, for black children, white children, Asian children, children, you know, um, for women, men, in his very profound and beautiful and mellifluous and colorful and philosophical words. After hearing that, how do you conclude that's a man we need to kill? We need to kill that man. What planet are you living on? What world are you living in? What reality are you seeing? Who are you? What on earth are you? Such beautiful logic. Imagine the manifestation of that logic. Imagine if in that moment when he gave that speech at the Lincoln Memorial, something just synthesizes like a chemical reaction in all of human beings and says, you know what? I want to buy into that. No, forget buy in. I, I want to work. I want to work to that as well, in whatever capacity that means for you. I see that, or even I see a fraction of that. Imagine if back in 1963, if my memory serves me well, now we are in 2024, which is coming up to possibly, what is it, 60, it's a bit late, so coming up to perhaps 70 years, almost a century soon, you know. Imagine if at that point humanity coalesced into a hybrid of understanding, a system of understanding, and say, listen, these are beautiful, profound assertions on top of the beautiful, profound assertions that have come before. You know, it's time now. Let's focus on this. Let's do this. Let's take action. Let's be in action to fulfill on this vision, this dream, so well articulated in this time that we can go to thanks to the technology we have, the videos that I could have watched it today. I could watch it today on YouTube and be inspired even before I was born. That's when that speech was given. But thanks to the technology, I can just quickly search YouTube and be in that moment, like time traveling. You know, in fact, it is instantaneous. Well, as fast as my broadband will go, and my thumbs will quickly click on the apps and things. You know, imagine if that shared vision, a memory complex, a complex of ideas, right? Not conformity, but a beautiful symphony. Like when the instruments are playing in accordance. They're making different sounds at different pitches One is bass. One, I'm not a musician per se, but I know a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you know, trombone and the saxophone, and someone's on the cello, perhaps. Now I'm going brass, I'm mixing it all up. We mash it all together, whatever you like. And that beautiful melody of an assortment of, all of these different instruments representing, all of these different human beings and ideas all put together and making a beautiful noise. Because, of course, human discord is analogous to the discord of those instruments when they're not playing in harmony. And there it is. But yet, someone thought that man is a threat. We must kill him. How? Help me explain how. I'm inspired, right? But someone thinks Martin Luther King was a piece of garbage. Like, they probably actually really do. And I say probably because I just find it profoundly absurd that someone actually would. But it's not a probably, it's a matter of fact, isn't it? In this reality of ours. And so I was right. Regrettably, certainly. I was right. My fundamental postulation and hypothesis at 21 years old, I was right. And I hate to be right in this instance, but I was right. The Dichotic Dilemma, the fabric of life. Martin Luther King. I remember when that film about Fred Hampton came out, Judas and the Black Messiah. My brothers and I just said, "Oh man, another black hero movie, another movie about blacks being brutalized and killed. I'm just tired." And so we watch anime and things, and it's amazing. It's good. And I was in total agreement. I just had had enough. But I watched it recently. My brother calls it trauma porn. I didn't even know there was such thing, but it's such a perfect. Why do you choose to watch trauma porn? You're just traumatizing yourself, indulging in your pain. That's a level of perception, though, because you can transcend that. You see. But at one level, absolutely right. And so I've written so much, especially in the last year, from January 2023 till to now. I've written 7 anthologies of poetry. 8, I think. 8, yes. And it's been one of the most taxing periods of my existence, mentally and enjoyable, when I actually started to acknowledge myself as a writer and a poet. Because I just, for a long time with the Dichotic Dilemma, it was my only book. So I just thought, hey, what's this aberration that's this book? But after I wrote my second, I wrote Utterly Rose, and I got a very good reception with that. And then I wrote Shay, dedicated to Che Guevara, a collection of poems. Then I wrote Hope, and then I wrote Existence, um, an Odyssey, an Infatuation, Love, and the Grander Things. And then I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this seems to be an unending well of poetic expression. And then so the idea of equanimity was beginning to percolate and settle in this angry soul that was me, you know. And then so I wrote equanimous musings on existence. And then the poems kept coming. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's going to be a series. And then so it was volume 1. And then it was volume 2. And then it was volume 3. And then it was volume 4. And then volume 5. And then I thought maybe it's a lifetime commitment. But my writing drains me because I think so much. And then I thought to myself, I'm never going to get out of this thing. I had a lady review my book, my first professional review. She made a very interesting comment. One of the first things she said is, I'm not your niche market. And then she said, but that's not a bad thing. It just means you have a specific audience. So that's a good thing. And then the next thing she said, but I'd never want to go into your brain. And then I took it as a compliment, but I knew exactly what she meant. I think so much. It takes a lot to be me, and I'm sure a lot of people do. But to have this level of frustration and anger and thought and intention and resistance and confusion and still function and smile and be happy and nice and chirpy, it's an effort. So then I realized I need to stop thinking, get out of this maze, and come out here into the world, into reality. And that's where this landmark training comes in. And so I've got a social enterprise I've created called Dichotic Dilemma Social Enterprise, which will be teaching and discussing inclusive leadership based on my journey with the dichotic dilemma. From a young black boy in Africa at the mercy of the whole world and what they decide when you're still young and vulnerable, particularly the Western world in my eyes, the world of the whites, to a young boy who then comes to England and then is no longer in a country full of blacks and whites over there. All of a sudden we live together, but then that conversation of separation still exists, and then that further confusion along with an assimilation. And then to synthesize all that, and like the hero, the saint, the Buddha, the ascended one, Martin Luther King, I had my own little slice of epiphany that perhaps the world would work better if we all get along. The dichotic dilemma, the fabric of life. And that's all it is. So, without further ado, as they say, I will carry on with the readings from the book. Chapter 2. True bravery is doing the right thing when you're most scared. How hilarious is that? You know? I had a caption for the beginning of every title. And how ironic, because I've been so scared to come out of my shell and be this expressed version of myself. Till now, because I've been scared of being killed, because all I've seen is an example of all the leaders, uh, whether it's all the African revolutionary leaders, if not all, most, or a lot, killed in, fighting for revolution, for freedom, called terrorists, insurgents, imprisoned, political prisoners, tormented, Nelson Mandela in prison, his child killed, children killed. Even now, some still consider him a terrorist. They call him a terrorist. I had a man literally, we had a face-to-face conversation, and he said he was he became good in the end, but he was a terrorist. It's like, what, really? So when are you entitled to fight for your freedom? When you decide, or what? I have to wait for your permission to we as well at this stage. I don't know. As far as I can see, you are persecuting his people, so I think it's quite perfectly entitled to say something about it at the very least, if not fight for it, because quite frankly, I realized that to an extent you were using physical force against his people, children included, like the Sharpeville massacre. And so who's the terrorist and where? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the dichotic dilemma. I did say so, and so I realized that Steve Biko died in a prison cell, lonely, head bludgeoned. Thomas Sankara, they killed him. Then the CIA, the Belgians, all that, they exhumed his body. Then they liquefied it with acid, and basically, and all that remained was a gold tooth. And they then the Belgian official who oversaw that whole exercise took the gold tooth as a memento. Now, I'm not saying that human beings aren't savage. I'm saying exactly that. But I'm saying, as a political agent or activist or some kind, you'll be putting yourself in danger. And I just haven't known what to do about that. Martin Luther King, the gentleman in question today, shot on the balcony, 39 years old, my age right now. I have a piece of him. He inspires me. So for all intents and purposes, I would have been in his image, copied him at a very young age. And I could have. I wrote this book at 21. So I had the ingredients like Fred Hampton, or like Greta Thunberg, or she's 16. So that DNA lived in me. So had I been that person and caused whatever, insurrection I would have, in whatever capacity, by 39 I would have antagonized someone, as I am right now. And I would be facing some kind of persecution. So that was I just haven't known what to do. So I've just lived my life as I've lived it and tried to figure it out. And then I thought maybe if I just write my books and that's it. And then I'll just slink away to a quiet death. I've got a good job, pays all right. And I can live quietly, find a nice woman or something, and just disappear into the ether when, my time runs out. I think I was looking at the ether there or something. So, and yet here I am. So I guess you can't escape your fate. Choose. That's what I was asked on my course today. What are you gonna choose? relate you to sit comfortably on your couch, enjoy life, and football, which no one's saying you can't, or are you going to take action on the things you care about that has you be here, in front of this YouTube thing, saying all this stuff? It's like, so what do you care about? I care about a world that works, basically. You know, right now I'm working with 2 orphanages with my whatever resources I have, and in Uganda, and these people don't even know how they do it per se. All those hungry mouths and needs. I have a friend who joined my organization, our organization, Dichotic Dilemma Social Enterprise. And I said one of the challenges of supporting the charities is, you always have to have money. And right now my finances are low, so it's really stressful. And he said, do you want me to tell you? He said, do you know what the role of a charity or an orphanage is? And I said, what? He said 3 things. And I was eagerly waiting to hear. And he said, ask for money, ask for money, ask for money. And so that was so hilarious, but it was comforting in a way because, these people have nothing, and I'm feeling pressure here, safe, with food and lighting. He's feeling pressure, of 200 orphan children. He's just a young man and was just taking on the responsibility and things. And I always get frustrated when people say, yes, of course, there's people who will take advantage of this, but you tell them, oh, I'm supporting a charity, and the first question they ask, oh, have you? I don't care about if I investigate. Of course I have. Can we not focus on solutions, not problems, And then he sent me some pictures of his child. He's got a little child, and they had been playing in the water and just playing outside. And then the child was vomiting and had diarrhea and things. And it's because where he lived, there was running sewage or something, And luckily I just gotten some money, and I just sent him money because he'd been evicted from another place. And I was like, get a new place for your family. And I didn't even have the money to give him at the time. I just couldn't bear that child. And then he sent me a picture of the child in hospital, and it didn't even look like a hospital. It looked like a bedroom, and it had the drip and everything. And these are the facilities that people have, And then you hear people talk in negative ways about Africa. Of course, this is not all of Africa, but it's a lot of Africa, So it's a lot of many poor parts of the world which have been left behind by industrialization and the economic revolution of the last, the turn of the 18th, 19th century. So what do we do? What do we do? So you can only do what you can. So at least I helped him, and also when my book Utterly Rose came out, I sent about 20 copies, and again, it's turned out into a miracle. Since when was it? Okay, let's just say June last year or whenever, or earlier. When you're like me and full of doubt and I can't, everything's too greater than me. And he took the opportunity, and now he's been running these classes for these children since the day he received the books. So every Saturday they've got something to do. There's a venue. Um, Strategically, he was renting chairs so that um, they could sit and do the classes. And then he suggested what would work is if we had our own chairs. So for a small investment, we bought some chairs, and now those classes have been running consistently. That's a life transformed. It took me a very long time to come out of self-doubt and realize that we had actually made a difference. But I, more importantly, as small as I see myself or saw myself, I played a part in that. If that child learns to read, more so interact with the ideas that I discuss in my poetry, that's a human being being formed newly, who could have otherwise just been doing any other random thing that Saturday. So, I'll stand in this moment, the declaration that the world is transformed as of now. So, chapter 2. True bravery is doing the right thing when you're most scared. On that basis, naturally ensuring these factors globally should realize more stable political systems. How, though, as a species, do we arrive at this stage when the variables that can confound such a process are innumerable and seem impossible to overcome? Jingoism, self protectionism, greed, hate, difference, historical imbalances, unrepresentative political systems, ignorance, flawed routes to power, and a myriad other factors. How do we arrive at a stage where we can elect credible representative leaders with grand ideas that can truly uplift the collective state of our race? We certainly need a shift in perspective as a species, as a humanity, as the full occupiers of this realm of existence. 2.2. In this life, we have to be strong, so strong that sometimes we are embarrassed to be weak or show weakness, to the point that we become cold and cold hearted. However, you can only get strong or stronger if you've been weak or weaker. So cry, show your weakness, for there is love and compassion to be found in weakness and strength to be gained. For we are but human, thus we are not impregnable to forces that can prevail over us at times. It is this understanding of ourselves we need. We are subject to those stronger than us, and they owe us a debt of gratitude. For it is in our weakness that they are stronger. The greatest knowledge is understanding of self. I don't know about you, but that sounds quite profound. And I just want to remind people that I was 21 when I wrote this. So I'm reading this as newly as you're probably listening to this, because I actually went through a lot of depression and multiple crises of confidence around this book within my personality. I got this book taken off Amazon 4 times. You know, I lived through periods where I was even scared to open a page because I thought it would be nonsense, basically. And yet now that I read it, and I think that a contributing factor to that is the fact that when I write, it's such a cathartic process, right? And it's total catharsis, particularly in the neurosis, you know? So your thoughts are attached to your feelings, obviously. So then if I'm focused on a particular thing and I write about it, I'm cleansed, really, you know? Or at least there's a new space. And I've written so much. I think the poems I've written, really, and my general writing, I only reflected the other time and I realized that I've been writing my whole life since childhood. So it was just a skill, let's say, that hadn't been realized or nurtured because all of this is self done, you know. All of my publishing really is self published, other than Ottilie Rose. So it wasn't a skill that I thought was a skill or that I even had or was cultured in any way. So I never even considered myself as a writer till like this year. And I'm 39. So that's 20 years after my first official book. But I've been writing my whole life. I remember in grade one, we used to call it in Zimbabwe, year one here in England. And this teacher of ours, he was a tall, giant man. I obviously won't say his name in case, you never know. Um, Confidentiality and these things. And and he was just so mesmerized by, we used to have composition, creative writing, and I used to love it because they would give you a topic and then you could just write. And he commented that he loved reading my work because it was always so unusual. And my take on the question or the topic was always so different from the other students. And just the way I described, and this is reflection. And at the time, it meant nothing to me because I was just a child and just thought, oh, that's nice. And my parents were strong and firm, so it was a different type of reassurance. So I never got carried away with anything like that. It was just like, okay, well, that's what he thinks, and it didn't leave a mark that I'd be like, oh, I'm good at writing or anything like that. It was just like, okay, but then I realized that I always wrote and I always had something to write in. And then when I went to high school in Zimbabwe, Victoria High, yeah, that's another project that I want to work on. In any case, I had a massive binder and I just used to write in it all the time. And one day I forgot it in class after school. And when I came back in the morning, it had gone. That probably will be the last thing I think about when I die. I was devastated. And I looked everywhere for it. So clearly someone had either helped themselves to it or I think I almost asked the whole school if they'd seen it. But anyway. So that's a lifetime of thinking really. And so I need to come out. So the point is when I write, it's cathartic. And I reached a point where I wrote so much, I think it was one of my books, that when I finished, I actually was wondering, like, so is racism actually real? Or is it like, am I making it up? Because I was so alleviated of my stress and tension because I write to survive and I wrote to survive at the time because, I don't fight or punch or scream or yell unless really provoked. And it takes a long time. I have a very long patience and threshold for being agitated. So, but it has to come out somewhere. So it came out in the writing. So, so when, so when I'll be, yeah, and then and then of course it will start to slowly creep back in, and when you watch the news and you're walking around in Asda and you see, newspapers and Nigel Farage and oh, okay, no, I'm not making it up. You see Piers Morgan, and then nowadays GBN. So oh no, yeah, okay, and then all this Meghan Markle stuff, and you know, and then you're at work or you hear someone say something, and then oh yeah, war, yeah, and then oh this country's invaded that country and this thing, and then okay, and then it's like economic imbalance. Oh yes, France still you know takes all the money from this country, and oh no, absolutely, yeah. Uh, and then it all reconstructs, and then it's like, oh okay, so I wasn't imagining it, and then you assimilate back into reality until the next book. so, so in any case, the point is, I need to come out of my imagination and into reality. So where are we? The greatest knowledge is understanding of self. A show of oppressive strength is a survival instinct and needs to show dominance in an effort to ensure one's own survival and superiority. It is a basic function, an animalistic function, and response to adversity and the challenges of survival. Within the animal kingdom, the weak are preyed upon, and that is the law of nature, and how survival and balance are maintained within that paradigm of existence. Such analogies exist within the human social sphere of existence and have been expressed through the ages. So when we fight, we are as animals because we are incapable of applying the functions of higher understanding to reach a solution and an outcome. I believe in true strength being the strength of character. Strength of character is based on deep understanding and attributes which appeal to our higher function and the capabilities of the mind applied positively. Strength of character is a rational function requiring rational input and temperance. This is real strength, true strength that is constructive, cohesive, and balanced. As we use higher function to see through the plight of our existence as opposed to more basic actions such as oppressive shows of strength. Relating to the previous idea of leadership, an abundance of these attributes in those who lead us would see more positive outcomes within our sphere of existence. Overcoming the challenges of our existence through understanding and balance is a functional tool towards a better existence. Yet often, strength and power are shown oppressively by human beings, particularly amongst those who lead us or come to lead us more often than not. This is by virtue of the process of power, where a human being is valued beyond balance and their influence is overextended. The mind perceives this and can consequently create any conceptualization of the meaning of that power, which can have positive or negative effects on the rest by virtue of the dominant characteristics of the individual, whether positive or negative, the corrupting influence of power. Hence, monarchies, emperors, dictators, rulers, those with that authority, can consequently instill any oppressive forms of government on their people. This idea, this idea transcends existence to even micro interactions in work, in the home, through life and social existence, as the notion of strength and power is emphasized oppressively or negatively. Strength of mind, strength of character, the power of understanding, and the devolution of power. No one person is all things. That is the function of collective human existence. The amalgamation of disparate perspective harmoniously through understanding. These are the functional inputs of strength and power that can contribute to a more balanced human existence. A lion, with the same mouth it uses to devour and predate prey, also can carry its cubs and hold them gently within its mighty fangs. The Dichotic Dilemma. We present differently in myriad forms, some weak, some strong, in any respect. There is a function to this, and this is what necessitates social stratification so that each aspect of survival can be seen to through the input of the collective. A bit like a queen and its hive, you know, the worker bees and the drones, etc. Intelligent design, if you wish. If everyone is the same, then the diversity, which again is the argument between equality and equity, gets very confused, very subtle, but very important. And you hear, you know, it, the same doesn't mean equality of outcomes. There's many ways to be the same without being the same. It's very subtle. Then the diversity needed to fulfill different social functions is not present. So I'll say that again. If everyone is the same, then the diversity needed to fulfill different social functions is not present. And it's a bit like the caste system in India, but I won't do that, you know. But I'll just leave that alone, you know. I will, I'm not justifying that. That's not what I'm saying. I probably shouldn't have said that. So, hence, each is valuable. That's not what I'm talking about. That really see I've messed up, and I've done 53 minutes, so I can't delete this video. I don't believe in a caste system. I was just saying social stratification for carrying out tasks analogous to what the caste system intention is for. But that doesn't mean restricting people to positions based on skin color, or you can't ascend into this position because of who you're born to and things like that. I ain't buying into that. The human being is a light being of infinite potential. Let it be free. I hope I've made amends. So, hence, each is valuable in spite of their seemingly weak or lesser position relative to others. It's just like that whole debate, like socialism, capitalism, whatever. Who's more important, the banker or the cleaner? You know? Um, well, it's a stupid argument. First of all, I can guarantee you if the cleaner doesn't do their job, collect the rubbish, clean, when everyone's gone home, clean the office and stuff, that's not going to be workable. It's just not. And equally, if the banker or the surgeon or whatever, you want to talk about, or the professional, white collar, or whatever, trained person, doesn't do their job, it's the same outcome. So who's more important? How really do you measure that? If the bin men stop collecting the bins, it's, no one's gonna be happy. So who's more important? You know. So how do we navigate that? Dichotic dilemma, social enterprise. These are the conversations. You know, we need to blast through the door of all these old ideas and into new thinking. That's what we're here for. You know, that's what Martin Luther King, that's what Nelson Mandela, all of those people fought for me to be in this a little farm village without antagonization ever. Um, to be here. It didn't happen by accident. It wasn't a spontaneous awakening. Martin Luther King died. Nelson Mandela, 27 years. And they say to him, we will release you. We are under pressure. This government is under pressure. This country is under pressure from sanctions. We're only surviving because of the support of the British and the banks, but we're under pressure. Can you come out of prison? And he said, no, not until my people are free and this apartheid is finished. And in the end, they relented, right? And those who ran away because the monster is coming out. The blacks are taking over, right? And then he said, I've done my part. Now you do your part. So I'm doing my part. Let's all do our part. Coming out of hiding. So, you cannot have the whole without the sum of its parts. I have one more anecdote for that, but I'll read and then I'll say that. Understanding the necessity of others, however they present, is the function of a greater understanding. I mean, this cuts through and transcends all that immigration, blah, blah, blah noise you hear. It's racism, there's just junk, it's like noise. Those who, by virtue of their natural selection, gain the fortune of finding themselves in dominance over others should always know that their power is by the virtue of the presence of others. We need to develop strength in the powers of understanding and not strength in the powers of oppression. We need to gain power in understanding how to apply the influence of power and limit its corrupting influence. We as human beings can communicate vocally more intricately and diversely than the other creatures on this planet. Though I could debate that, that's what we think, but we don't know. When those birds are singing and all of that stuff, we don't know what kind of cosmic stuff could be happening there. But we like to assume these things because we think we're special. But in any case, I was a younger person there, so I'd only learned what I'd been taught by the world about the supposed importance of human beings, which of course we are, but to make such assertions is a bit scandalous. But I'll keep it in the book. Are we incapable of using this ability to live through our disparities in a positive way in a positive and balanced way? Indeed, again, we need shift in perspective. So I just wanted to make the anecdote with regards to the point about you cannot have the whole without the sum of its parts. So I work in MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, a coincidence of profound implications in my life. So we left Zimbabwe when I was 16. And as you can see, I'm quite a wordy guy. And my strongest subjects without trying were English literature and English language. I was generally good at school with very little effort. And so I got through with very little effort, and I got my A's in English language and English literature. So by all accounts, I'd have probably ended up as a lawyer or something like that. But we left Zimbabwe, came to England, disillusioned, and in the end didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a lost child, an immigrant. And somehow my mom knew a radiographer. Never heard of it in my life. But us immigrants have to work because that's just the way it is. The black tax, they call it, because you have to send money home and not go skiing. Okay. In any case, so what happened? So I hated it. Absolutely hated it. So in the first instance, I'd done psychology for a year, but I was advised by loved ones, that, oh, you can't do psychology. So many people do it. It doesn't qualify you for a job. You'll end up working in a care home or something. Not that that's bad. That's just, was the thing. And, you could do something else. And so I did follow that advice and ended up doing radiography. And as I say, I absolutely hated it. Wasn't anything that I wanted to do with my life. So what is this? But the interesting part is I ended up in MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, and got exposed to the theories of quantum physics, which essentially is how the MRI scanner works. And by some dint of fortune, it sparked a philosophical renaissance in my mind, because I started contemplating quantum reality after reading about the basics of MRI physics. And it just started me on a new journey outside of the world of Newtonian reality, if you wish, into the world of quantum reality. And my life's never been the same, Well, that's a very long-winded way of saying the point about we are the sum of our parts. So the MRI scanner is probably one of the most complex pieces of technology on planet Earth, just based on what it does and what it can do. But I was working on the MRI vans this one time, and the scanner wasn't working. The MRI scanner wasn't working. 1.3 million pounds worth of technology wasn't working. We opened the cupboards, which is this, and that, I called the engineer, And do you want to know what the issue was? The issue was a fuse, right? In a little panel worth £5. The engineer just had to go to Tesco or something to buy the fuse. Or maybe not Tesco, in his van. I don't know. Either way, £5. This incredible MRI scanner producing images using quantum physics, deciphered by some of the most intelligent human beings we think to ever live on the planet. Their contribution, right? Brought to its knees by a little fuse worth £5. 1.3 million, £5. Anyway, the dichotic dilemma, blah, blah, blah. So, what's more valuable? Or what makes society work? What makes that MRI scanning environment work? It's all of that. So everything is important in the way that it's important and should be respected as such. I hope I've made some kind of intelligible point, and I'll leave it at that. So if anyone anywhere will ever see this, I love you. I love you. I love you. You know, that's life. So I made a promise to myself, we'll see, that I wasn't writing anymore because I'm tired. I just want to live and commit to being happy. I've met a new girl, a woman. She's absolutely spectacular. And I'm going to live my life, be a millionaire, just be happy, and help as many people as I can because I choose to. And that's it.